I'm downloading the list. Now, most is going to be the nasal cavity.
So the nasal cavity here would be totally general cavity muscles.
Yeah, so hold on a second. I'm pulling the list. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, so the first thing here, we have the nasal cavity, structure of the nasal cavity, superior, middle, and inferior nasal conchae. So now, if you bring this image, you see my image?
Yep.
So
Yeah,
you're probably familiar with those. Yeah, so this is the inferior. So remember, the inferior nasal concha is just a bone by itself, and it's a facial bone. That's basically what this is. The inferior nasal concha right there. Now, the middle and the superior, you don't see them in this view because they are part of the ethmoid bone. Okay, so, but the inferior, you can see it here. Now, there is another model where I will show you more, but now it might be a good idea to bring this one, which is going to be more this one right here. It's slightly different from the one that they have in the lab, though. So now this here is showing you the sinuses. This is the frontal sinus. This is the maxillary sinus, and ethmoid sinuses, and so on. So I'm going to remove these. I'm going to remove the maxillary sinus. Now you can, when you look here, this is the nasal cavity right there. We can remove this also. That's all this, like this is like the sinuses. So I remove the sinuses. Now, when you're looking at the nasal cavity, see, this is the nasal cavity. When you look at the nasal cavity, now you look at the shelves that you have, which we call them conchae. So you have three. You have superior nasal concha. They call it the turbinates here. This is the middle, and this here is the inferior. So superior, middle, and inferior. Superior nasal concha, middle nasal concha, and inferior.
On the space and not the actual structure.
No, that's a good question, actually. See, this image here is reversed. The cavity, yeah, is reversed. It's the reverse. The cavity is the opening, and these are the shelves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So these basically are the shelf that you see. If it won't let me remove one. Elena is here. It won't let me remove one half for you to see. But this basically, so when you look at in the middle, this is the nasal septum in the middle right there. So in the middle, you won't let me select it, but in the middle, that's the nasal septum. I'll show you another image. But basically, the nasal conchae, what you want to remember about them, basically is a shelf in each nose that allows for the turbulence of the air. So the air like moves around. So it creates that turbulence. So this turbulence allow for the air to get like the temperature, the body temperature, get dehumidified. This is basically the process of humidification. If it's like dry, it get humidified, right? If it is wet, it get dehumidified. And if there is any particles or anything that with the air as we breathe, it get captured here because you have mucous membrane, right? So that's basically what you have. So now if I remove this, if I hide this, now you will be able to see them very well. See, there are shelves. See, yeah, see them like this. That's the superior one. This is the middle. and this is the inferior. Basically, like these are the shelves. Okay, and this here is going to be basically one of the openings. This is called the hiatus semilunaris, which you have it in the list
Oh, that's
after
on the
the
list?
superior. Huh?
That's on the list?
The yeah,
Okay.
the but they have it listed as the semilunar hiatus. Number 3, 1, 2, 3, number 3 in the list. But that's basically what this is. Okay. You might be able to see it in visible body in the anatomage. So basically, when you look at the superior concha right there, the middle, it's linked to the middle. It's actually part of the middle. It opens within the middle. That's basically the depression in the opening to the sinus. That's the semilunar hiatus. Now the uncinate process, I won't be able to show you here for you. It would be a good idea to go over this. So basically, when you look at the conchi, the one that we have in the lab, the dry model, is similar to this one. So basically, when you look at this is the ethmoid bone, right? And this showing you the first X, this one right there. This first X is the superior nasal concha right there. This is the 2 X's. This is the middle. And now this one here is showing you the maxillary hiatus. So, or you can call it the semilunar hiatus, basically. It's the same thing. This is basically the one that I just showed you. And this is the inferior nasal concha. So basically the conchae are going to be the shelf-like structure in the nose to allow for the air, instead of, when you breathe, instead for the air to go like straight, it's going to have some time, some seconds, just swirling around before it goes in. Okay. Now, the uncinate process, thought I have it here. Not on this one, maybe on this one. This is just showing you like a graphical one.
It was at the bottom of that one, Dr. Hamden.
Right.
On
It's
the page you
showing,
just
yeah,
had, it was at the bottom.
it's right here, right? That's the answering process right there. But it's not showing it very well though.
Okay.
This is the area right there where you have the answering process. Basically, remember when we look at the vertebrae, you have that answering process as well. Basically, when you have a bone that elevated slightly. So part of the bone structure. Now the hiatus, basically anytime you have a concha, oops. So anytime you have a concha, let me go back. Anytime you have a concha like this, then you have a hiatus, basically the depression. So this is the concha, and then the groove, basically, that's the hiatus. But invisible body won't let you click on it. That's the hiatus right there, with every single one of them. So that's why I have a superior hiatus, middle hiatus, and inferior hiatus. But the conchi, I don't remember in the anatomage how they look, but here in visible body, they are reversed. So you see them right there. Now the cartilage, now it's nice here because you can see it on this image right there. Basically the cartilage is the part in the middle. Yeah, look on this one right there. See, when you look at this one, again, see, you can, this is the cartilage on the outside, the cartilage of the nose. This is the lateral, which you have it in the list. Basically, when you look at the outside one, this is the lateral. This is the alar, lateral, alar. From both sides, this is a lateral cartilage. This is the alar cartilage. And then if you look in the middle here, look, that's in the middle right there. That will be the septal. So you have 3. You have easy to identify lateral, 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 and then alar, alar, and then in the middle is the septal. So you remember in the middle, the anterior part, which you can actually move around. That's going to be your septal. That's going to be your septal cartilage. Because when you look, if you go back to the nose, if you go back to this one, you have two bony structures. Remember this. The bony structure are one of them. This is the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone. But those are very deep in. Those are bony structure. Now the next one down is a vomer. Remember from the osteology, you have perpendicular plate, ethmoid perpendicular plate, and then you have the vomer. Then the cartilage is only covers this anterior part. And of course, you don't see the cartilage. You see, all this here is cartilage. This is the lateral one, and this is the alar one. And in the middle, the one that comes to the front to cover the anterior portion of these bones is going to be the septal cartilage. And that's why when somebody has septal deviation, it's not the bone that's deviated. The bones are strong, but what is deviated is the cartilage. That's why they take it out, they put it straight, and they install it back. So the nostril, you have two. You have right and left nostril. Between them, the dividers between the two nostrils, one of them is going to be the bony structure, and the bony structure is made of two bones, the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone and the vomer. And those are the posterior. Anterior, you're going to have the cartilage, which is the one that I just showed you, which is this one. Oops. Which is this one right there. So these are three cartilage. This is going to be your lateral cartilage, alar cartilage, lateral cartilage, alar cartilage, and the one in the middle. I can remove these for you to be able to see. If I hide this guy and hide this guy, this is the nasal cavity. So if I remove it, then you see the cartilage. See, the anterior, the bony structure is going to be these two bones, the ethmoid perpendicular plate, and way down here is going to be the vomer, that right there. See, so the bones cover on the posterior aspect, but the anterior aspect is the cartilage. Make sense?
Yes.
So these are all the cartilages. And they're cartilage of the nose, cartilage of the nasal cavity of the nose, right? Then the arteries. Now, next in the list, they have the arteries. So they have the anterior ethmoidal, posterior ethmoidal, maxillary, and sphenopalatine. Now, invisible body is going to be, those are going to be very deep, but we can do it. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this guy. So we can do, I'm going to add them. Remember, we talked about this before. I know this is like complex. So this is the external carotid, right? Agree? External carotid is going to give you this guy, which is going to go very deep in there. See this guy? It's the maxillary. I don't know if they have this in the anatomage table. So it's going to be your maxillary. That's the maxillary artery. Maxillary artery,
So
very
the
deep.
maxillary. Oh,
Say it
sorry.
again.
I was just gonna ask: is the maxillary you said is a branch of the common carotid, or what did you say was a branch of?
External. External.
External.
Yeah. So external.
Thank you.
Remember, this is the common carotid here. The common carotid is going to divide to external and internal. Internal doesn't give you any branches, so it goes straight. But the external is the one that gives you branches, starting from here. This is the superior thyroid, and then it continues. It gives you this branch here going all the way up. This is going to be your ascending pharyngeal. Then it continues. It gives you a lingual branch, which is going to be this guy right there. It's a lingual branch, give you the facial branch, right? So gives you the posterior auricular, occipital first, and then posterior auricular. But one of the branches it gives you is going to be this guy, which is the maxillary. This is the maxillary. Now the maxillary goes very deep in there into this fossa right there. See, you have this. This is called the infra. It's called the infratemporal fossa. This is the temple right there. If this is going to be, if this is the temporal fossa right there. This is the infratemporal fossa. So it goes in there and then it gives you lots of branches. One of them, very important branch, I don't know if they don't have it in the list, which is very important branch, is the medial meningeal, this meningeal right there. And then it gives you, I can remove this, show you. I'm just gonna cover all the branches. This is another meningeal, and then gives you this one, inferior alveolar, that we talked about before. And then very deep in there, medial pterygoid. One of them is going to be this guy, which is the lateral pterygoid. And very deep in there, it's very deep. So on the branches, there is one very deep going to the ethmoid. It's not giving it to me. I'll just probably search for it. Hold on 1 second. Ethmoidal. I might have to remove some of the bones to be able to see it. Ethmoidal.
Yeah. I have
Yeah,
to remove
it's-
the bones and I was looking at it.
Yeah,
They're
it's-
very deep.
It's very deep. It's showing you the bone, but it's ethmoidal. Let's do the artery. Ethmoidal. Yeah, anterior ethmoidal. It's very deep. It's not. It's showing, but it's not. We're not able to see it. So the anterior ethmoidal exiting out here. It's showing you the exit point through the nose, interior ethmoid, and posterior ethmoid. Yeah. So okay. Hold on a second. So you can see it sticking out, coming out, right there. This is the posterior ethmoid. I don't know if you're oriented. So you can if you go through the opening from there, you won't be able to see it. So but you'll see it right there. That's the posterior ethmoid right there. And this one here is the anterior. But if you try to go from here, you won't be able to. You won't be able to follow. But it's branch of the maxillary. You can read about it here. Oh man. The ophthalmic arteries from the internal carotid into the orbit, the branches. Somewhere here is going to tell you it's branches from the maxillary. Anyways, but yeah, these are the two. So this is the anterior ethmoidal from each side, and you can see dangling down from this is the perpendicular plate again. So I guess to get oriented, maybe in the anatomosh, if you can find the perpendicular plate and then go lateral from each side for the anterior ethmoid, that's the easy way from each side. And then for the posterior ethmoid, I guess you just have to go into the orbit right there. It makes anastomosis with this guy, which is like the ophthalmic artery. So they all make anastomosis, all of them. They're going to make anastomosis very deep in there. So that's the posterior ethmoidal. Visible body is saying ethmoid, but in your lab protocol on the structural list, they are calling ethmoidal. So it's going to be your posterior, and this one here is the anterior. Anterior, and this is the posterior. For whatever reason, it's actually still, that's still showing posterior though. This one right there, posterior. So posterior, and you can see they are intertwined because this one here is the last part of the anterior. the last section of the anterior, and this is the posterior. I don't think in the dry lab we even have a model for these arteries. I don't remember seeing them. Then maxillary is easy. Maxillary is one of the easy arteries to identify. So maxillary, basically what you want to do, you want to go right at the border, right? See where you see the mandible right there, right at this angle right there. That's what the maxillary artery is. The one that I'm highlighting. Yeah. So basically straight from the external carotid right there. Okay. Maxillary division. Oh, that's a nerve. Okay. Now, that's a maxillary. Sphenopalatine. Sphenopalatine is going to be down here. This is the pharyngeal. Let me look for it. I don't see the sphenopalatine. Yeah, it's very deep. Uh, um, uh, it shows it, but I keep losing it. So in the let's do on the right side. I don't see it. Unless let's remove the maxilla. It's right there. If you remove the maxilla, then you'll be able to see it. As you can see, it comes from the maxillary, but it's very deep. See, so it's a maxillary branch. They're all maxillary branches, but it's very deep. So this is the maxillary that we just talked about. That's a maxillary right there. But to get to the sphenopalatine, you have to go all the way deep in here. So invisible in the anatomage table, unless you're going to remove the maxilla. I just removed the entire maxilla to be able to see it. So it's very deep. Those arteries are going to be, all of them are going to be very deep. But they have them in the list. So in the were you able to see them in the anatomage table on yesterday?
Some of them were really hard to find, at least for me. Like because I tried to do the high resolution head and neck and not a preset, and that was really slowing me down. So I didn't finish the list, but I'm gonna go into Open Lab and try on a preset and see if that's better.
Right. The best way to do it is to remove them. If you remove the maxilla, then you'll be able to, because they're very deep in there. So, but at least you know, if you just follow the maxillary, then just follow the maxillary. For the sphenopalatine, follow the maxillary until it gets to the fossa right there. This is the first. This is the end of the fossa. So basically, right below, if you find foramen rotundum, right, that's going to be like orientation wide, because this is a sphenoid bone. It's right below the sphenoid bone. That's going to be a sphenopalatine. For these two, the anterior and the posterior, you have to come to the front. This is the anterior ethmoid, basically, because I removed one part of the maxilla here. So that's going to exiting out under the nasal bone right there. That will be the anterior ethmoid. And then very deep in the socket, that will be the, not that one, this one right there. It will be the posterior. Those are very deep. So tomorrow, I'm gonna try to see if we have a model to see them, but I doubt it if you can see those deep ones for the models. Now, Same, now the maxillary division of the trigeminal nerve, those are easy. So for those, I'm gonna go to the cranial nerve, this one. Cranial nerves. This is fine, but let's do this one. Cranial nerve, okay? So for the cranial nerves, because we have the nerves to identify. So remember, now they have the maxillary division of the trigeminal. So this is a trigeminal. Now this one you can see in the model easily in the lab, okay? So this is going to be your trigeminal nerve. Trigeminal is easy to spot. Basically exits right from the pons. That's the pons right there. Exiting out of from the pons, trigeminal. This is the trigeminal ganglia. That's the ganglia right there. Trigeminal ganglia. Then it gives you 3 branches. One is going to go up, and then there will be ophthalmic branch. There's going to be an ophthalmic branch. They don't have the ophthalmic branch here, but they want you to identify the maxillary, which is this one. So 3 branches: ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular. So the upper one is the ophthalmic, the middle one is the maxillary, the lower one is the mandibular. So basically, if you look, one goes to the eye, that's going to be your ophthalmic. The second one goes to the maxilla, and the last one goes to the mandible. Going to be the 3 one. Okay. Now the maxillary, another thing you want to remember about it, because it exits out. Oops, this has all the muscles. I'm going to remove the muscles because it exits out from the infra. See right there, from the infraorbital. That's the exit out from here. So basically, it's starting here as the maxillary when you highlight it, and it comes out through this. It gives you lots of branches. See right there. This is the same one, but eventually it's going to exit here. But when it exits, it becomes infraorbital. Okay, but even in the socket, you can identify it right there. So you basically, and it's very known, this is the exit point. So 2, you have to remember them by exit point. 1 is the maxillary, exit point is the infraorbital foramen, this one right there. Infraorbital foramen. And the other one is the mandibular, which is this one right there. This is the mandibular. The exit point for the mandibular is the foramen mentalis, the mental foramen, this one. It exits out right there. That's the exit point for it. If you remove the, if I fade it, you'll be able to see it, right? See it right there? That's right there. That's the mandibular branch. See, mandibular nerve? It gives you several branches. It's all branches, but eventually it's going to come and exit out through here, through the mental foramen right there. So maxillary exits through the infraorbital, mandibular exits through the mental foramen right there. Now we have tiny ones. Pterygopalatine. The pterygopalatine ganglion is very deep in there. Right there. This has to be. This is the otic actually. Has to be very deep in there somewhere. This might be right there. Yep. That's a pterygopalatine. It's very deep. These structures are very deep. That's a pterygopalatine, see? But they have it in the list. They have the pterygopalatine ganglion right there. So basically, you have to go all the way deep into the fossa right there. This bone right here is a sphenoid bone. Again, sphenoid bone is going to be your orientation. Remember this process here is called the pterygoid process of the sphenoid bone. So, and this fossa right here, this fossa, I don't know if you can see this fossa right there. This fossa is called pterygopalatine fossa, and that's where the ganglion is. See right there? That's a ganglion. Basically, it's part of the maxillary nerve. So that's maxillary nerve for it exits, gives you the ganglion right there. They have in the list, they have the pterygopalatine ganglion. The ganglion, it might be easy to identify because they are invisible and anatomage, because all you're gonna see swelling, right? Basically like a ball, okay, from which you have several nerves exiting out. So this one here is the otic ganglion. This one here is the pterygopalatine ganglion, and this one here is going to be your trigeminal ganglion. Can you see? Basically, it's an area, or you have a cluster of nerves, usually one coming in, and then you have several exiting out. Now, the tiny ones, the nasopalatine, I'm gonna have to look for it because I don't see it. Nasopalatine is part of 5 as well, and it's so crazy. They are very deep. I don't know what the purpose of doing this. They're asking these, but I don't see it. I don't know. Unless we do like lots of removal for these nerves. Under the, it's going to be under, because it's, you see the name is nasopalatine. It has to have something with the palatine. Might be a good idea just to do this. If I bring this guy and just add the nerves, might be easier to do it this way, because it's going to be down there somewhere, going to the nose and the palatine at the same time. This is the greater palatine, has to be down there somewhere. I don't see it. I mean, is this it? I think so. Yeah, that's it. Actually, showing that's it. It's palatine from each side. Then that's going to be easy then for orientation wise. Although it's very deep in there, but part of it is sticking out. The only problem is what is he going to label in the anatomage? Is he going to label the part that's sticking out or the deep part, because it has a very deep part in there, see? But sticking out is going to be by the vomer. This is the vomer right there. So on the side of the vomer is the nasopalatine from each side. You see what I'm showing you? Are you guys here?
I can hear you. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, sorry, my
Sorry, I
dog
mean-
is barking, so I was trying not to unmute my mic.
Oh, no worries, no worries, no worries. Yeah, so the nerves and the arteries are, I tried the best I could to show you, but they're very deep. All of them are deep. Now, oral cavity, we have the muscles for the oral cavity. We have muscles. We have the tensor villi platini, the levator villi or villi platini. Then they have the platoglossus, platopharyngeus, muscles of the uvulae. I don't know why they have them, but we have genoglossus, haeoglossus, styloglossus, platoglossus, and then we have the folds. Okay. So now let me orient you first with the slides, because when we talk about these muscles, it might be a good idea. You see the slide?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, now see there are several muscles here. Anytime you see glossus, that means that something is going to the tongue. So glossus going to the tongue. Now, styloglosses from the styloid process to the tongue. Right there. That's a styloglosses. Hyoglosses from the hyoid bone to the tongue. Hyoglosses. High for the hyoid bone, or hyo from the hyoid bone. Okay. Then genioglosses, this is the one that comes from the genial tubercle of the mandible, which is right there, to the tongue. That's a genioglosses. That's the mandible right there. So these are the one that, if you are oriented by the name, like styloglosses, stylo process to the tongue, then hyoglosses, hyoid bone to the tongue, and then the genioglosses, like going to be under from the mandible to the tongue, right? Let me see what else I have. And then we have pharyngoblatean arch. They don't have the arch in here. Or they have the salpingoblatein. They have the fold, but they don't have the arch. And then the tonsil, the platoglosses, again, from the palate, going from the, this is going to be a platoglosses from the palate. Basically, this arch right there, from the palate, which is right there, the hard palate, to the tongue, platoglosses. Okay. So these are the ones that I have. So let's do it from visible body now. Oh, this one is going to be tough to identify. We have to remove some of them, but I'll hide this one. I'm going to have to hide the mandible for a second so you can start seeing. I have to remove some of these. So, here. I mean, it's not possible to remove all of them. Let's do oral cavity again. Okay, some of these you're gonna see easily. For example, like remember we said this is the hyoid bone, and from the hyoid, this is gonna be your hyoglossus right there. From the hyoid bone, because that's gonna be your the oral cavity, and this is the tongue right there. That's the tongue, right? So I'm gonna leave the cavity alone for now, so I wanted to get oriented. Now I see another one now. See, this is the hyoglossus. Remember the styloglossus? It comes from the styloid process right there. They're going to be your styloglossus from styloid process to the tongue. Okay, styloid process to the tongue is going to give you the styloglossus. Okay, so and then we need to look at another one. So from this side, here you go. It's going to be your hyoglossus, styloglossus, right? Now the one that they have them. These are the constrictor muscles, superior pharyngeal constrictor. Oh, by the way, they have the constrictor. Let's do the constrictors so I can remove them. So we have 3 constrictors. You have superior. They have them in the list. Constrictor muscles. So it's going to be constrictor superior. This is the middle where I'm pointing, and this is the inferior. However, visible body, when it comes to the inferior constrictor, gives you 2. Inferior constrictor to the thyroid, and inferior constrictor to the cricoid process. But for your purpose, it is fine, just the lowest one. The lowest one is going to be inferior pharyngeal constrictor or inferior constrictor. And you have them under the constrictor muscles, superior constrictor, middle constrictor, and inferior constrictor. So it's going to be your superior constrictor. This is your middle constrictor. This is your inferior constrictor. Okay. So what I need to do, I need to remove a little bit here to be able to show. I'm going to remove my seater. I'm going to remove this as well. The one that in the going to the from the platine to the tongue is going to be on this side. So basically right here, this is the tensor. This you have this in the on the list. The tensor valley, the tensor valley platini. So it is number two. They don't have it numbered, but yeah, it's the second. And the second on the oral cavity, the second on the list, or say muscles, tensor villa platini. Tensor villa platini, and then we have a levator. I don't see. This is the other tragoid. I don't see the levator though. I see the tensor, but I don't see the levator. Maybe we have to add it, but that's the tensor right there. Yes, the levator right there. So this is the tensor villa platini. They are very close to each other. So that's the tensor, and this is the levator. Tensor villa platini, levator villa platini. And then you, between the constrictor, the superior and the middle, you're going to have two muscles. One from the styloid process to the tongue, styloglossus. One sticking up, that's going to be your stylopharyngeus. From the styloid process to the pharynx, it's going to be your stylopharyngeus. Okay. So these are the muscles. So one more time, you know, and let's do, actually it's faded so you can see them. So the remember at some point, I think the first week or the second week, we talked about these muscles for mastication, the mandible, the temporalis are all connected to the mandible. And then you have two, this one of them is going to be lateral pterygoid, and this is the medial pterygoid. Okay, so I just wanted to, I'm pointing this out just for you to exclude them from this list. Okay, so this one here is the lateral pterygoid, this is the medial pterygoid. Okay, then for these you have to go a little bit medial and slightly lateral toward the styloid process. So this is going to be your tensor vili platini. This is the levator vili platini. Then you come down, you will see the superior constrictor. Right with the superior constrictor, you have two more. You have the stylo, from the styloid process to the tongue, that's going to be your styloglossus. And then from the styloid process to the pharynx, that's going to be your stylopharyngeus. Then, of course, this is going to be your middle, and this is your inferior constrictor muscles. Okay? Now, from the hyoid bone, this is the hyoid bone, to the tongue is going to be your hyoglossus. Oh, now we need another one. We need the genohyoid. For that, what we need to do, we need to hide this. So genohyoid, we need to hide it. We need the glossus. So this is going to be your genioglossus. See, this is genohyoid. This is the genial tubercle right there. But the one that goes to the hyoid bone right there is going to be geniohyoid. The one underneath it, it goes to the tongue, is going to be your genioglossus. So genioglossus, because this is just the tongue. So genioglossus from the hyoid bone to the tongue is going to be your hyoglossus. Then from the styloid process to the tongue, styloglossus. From the styloid process to the pharynx, it's going to be your stylopharyngeus. Then the villi platini too. You have one tensis, the platine basically, and that's going to be your tensor villi platini, and one elevates, and this is going to be your elevator. So it's levator. You just want to remember it as elevator. It's a levator or levator villi platini. And then there are three constrictors: superior constrictor, middle constrictor, inferior constrictor. Oh, the folds. Okay, now how do I show you the folds? There is a model here where you can see the folds. We need an open mouse to be able to see the folds. So again, this is the tongue. We're gonna look at the tongue in a second, but I need something to look inside. Not this model. This is the same one I got. Yeah, you can see the fold from here, from the back, but you need to be able to see it from the front. That's the oral cavity, and these are the folds. That's the roof. You need to be able to see it from the anterior aspect, but I'm not able to show you. Now the tongue, let's do the tongue, and then I'm gonna look for those again. Now the tongue, now the tongue, they have the papillae for you, but you won't be able to see the papillae here. So let's do this. So basically, I'm gonna walk you through the entire tongue. This is the body of the tongue. This is the anterior part, the apex, right? Now you will see these here. This is the villate right there. It's going to be your circum or the vallate, right? The circumflate or vallate papillae. Now in the back, you see the lingual tonsils, foramen cecum, of course, and then you see the palatine tonsils. But you don't see the papillae themselves. The folate, you'll be able to see them, right? So this is going to be this is the papillae, the circumflate papillae. So which the first one in the list, but the folate papillae, the fungiform papillae, and the fungiform, you won't be able, not invisible body, you don't have them here. Now this is they don't have, actually they do, they have the lingual frenulum, which is this part right there. It's the lingual frenulum. Basically, under the tongue, the part that anchor the tongue to the inferior wall, that's going to be your frenulum, right? Of course, about the root, yeah. But I'm sure there's a model to show the oral cavity. To show you the folds. This one. And this one. This one doesn't even have. Oh, here you go. Oh, here you go. This is the model I'm looking for. Wow, this is the one that I'm looking for. See, these are the folds right there. So this is the blatopharyngeus, right? On the, yeah, this is the uvula right there. This is the musculus uvulae, basically. They have it in here. Yeah, they have it number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the list. They have. I knew that there is a model for this, but it's listed under the respiratory system for whatever reason. But this is the musculus uvulae, basically the muscular part behind the uvula, right? And then you have the folds. Okay, this is the entire oral cavity. It's the oropharynx right there. So then you have this fold, which is the palatopharyngeus fold, and then you have this one here, which is the levator villi platini, and this is going to be your tensor. But right now you see them like in an open. So the levator villi platini, and this is going to be your glottoglossus. You don't see the tongue here. Now, if you come this way, then you will be able to see the one that we identified. For example, like tensor villi platini, and then remember, you go underneath, you're going to have the levator tensor villi. So it tenses the platine basically, right? And then the second one under is going to be the levator. It elevates the blood time, basically the soft polyp. And then right underneath, you're going to see the superior sphincter, middle sphincter, inferior sphincter. Okay? These are the sphincter ones. Between sandwich between the superior sphincter and the middle sphincter is going to be your stylopharyngeus, the one that goes. You don't see the styloid process here, but that's where they're coming from, the styloid process. We can add the tongue here just to for you to be able to see. To add the tongue to see the relationship. See, now I just added the tongue. Might be actually a good idea to add them, to add all the muscles here in this, because you'll be able to see it naked. There's a glottoglossus. 1 second, hold on. I'm gonna add them one at a time. Glottoglossus, glottopharyngeus. Glottopharyngeus actually is already there. So glottopharyngeus right there. We already talked about glottopharyngeus. Let's add genioglossus. Okay. Then I'm gonna add hyo. Okay. Now you got it, hyoglossus. Let's add styloglossus. Styloglossus there. No. Now this makes sense. Okay. All right, styloglossus. Something. You won't let me add it. I don't have the salpingo. Okay. All right. The fold is not. I don't have the salpingo. Yeah, the fold is just the fold. So, but stylopharyngeus. Yeah, but now we have all of them. Okay, so this is a good model. I need to save this model. So basically showing you a relationship to the tongue. So if it's coming from the styloid process, you can see right there, from the styloid process, is going to be your styloglossus. Coming from the hyoid process, from the hyoid bone, is going to be your hyoglossus. Coming right from where the mandible is going to be your genioglossus right there. Okay. But see the problem with this view, because when you put the tongue in, you won't be able to see the folds very well. See, now the folds are gone, but the folds are very deep in there. See, now this is the uvula right there, and then I'm going to tilt it slightly like this, so you can see the glottopharyngeus, and then you have the levator villi latini, levator villi latini right there. Okay, and then you have the tensor. Tensor right there. So you have the levator and the tensor. Because you don't see this part right here, which is like hidden from you. This is basically the roof of the mouse. Okay, this is the roof. This is where the nose is. So this is the part that tenses the palate. This is the tensor villi platini. This is the one that elevates it. Levator villi platini. And then you have the sphincters, right? You're gonna have superior sphincter, between the superior sphincter and the middle sphincter, sandwich between them, you're gonna have the stylopharyngeus, and then you continue the middle pharyngeal, the middle constrictor, and then the inferior constrictor. Now the tongue is the one that I don't see that much stuff in the tongue. The villi. Actually, in my PowerPoint slides, I have them here. Now the circumvallate is the one that looks like right at the border right there. This is foramen cecum there. But the triangle that you see here, that's the circumvallate papillae. The fungiform, like see that line here, and the filiform towards the midline. On the side, these are the fallate papillae. So I don't know how much you have in the lingual. We have it in the invisible body. You have the lingual. Those are not. So sorry. The platine and the lingual, both of them. This is the platine. This is the lingual. Then I can show you. Those are out there. If you bring the tongue out like this, those are easy. These are the lingual, and these are the platine right there. But on the side, you won't be able to see. You won't be able to see the fallate or the fungiforms. You won't be able to see them. The circumvallate, you'll be able to see them, which is like the border basically. Before you get to the foramen cecum. Okay. This one? Oh yeah, of course. Right. They are very tiny, so this will help. Usually, if you get oriented, so the filiform towards the midline, the fungiform somewhere in the medial side before you get to the lateral side of it. As soon as you get to the lateral aspect of the tongue, those are going to be those on the side here. These are the fallate papillae. The platine and the lingual are easy to spot because the platine on the far right side, towards the back, between them, sandwiched between them, are the lingual right there. Lingual tonsils, platine tonsils, pharyngeal tonsils, and then the glands are going to be easy. The glands are going to be easy. Hold on 1 second. If I go back, let's do this guy. The glands are all easy. So you have 3 sets of glands. You have parotid gland, of course, and then you have one is going to be your submandibular, and these are the sublingual. Those are easy. So for the submandibular, you just have to go to the lateral border of the mandible right there. These are the submandibular. These are the sublingual. You just go oriented like where the tongue is, like oral cavity. There's a tongue right there. And these are going to be your sub. This one again showing you some of the muscles that we just talked about. Like hyoglossus, like styloglossus, right? Pharyngeal, sphincter muscles, constrictor ones, right? So superior, middle, and inferior, and styloglossus, right? Now for the genio, you just have to be careful with genio because there's 2 of them. I don't know if he's going to show you the removal or not because they are very similar. But the one that goes, just get oriented and look at the link where it's going. If it's going to the hyoid bone, then it's a geniohyoid. If it is removed, then it's not going. See, there is a disconnect. If there is a disconnect, that means it's a genioglossus. But it is, as long as it's connected to the hyoid bone, it's a geniohyoid. Not connected to the hyoid bone, it's a genioglossus. Because there is no more muscles here to come from the mandible, from this part under the chin all the way to the tongue. All right. I hope I didn't waste your time.
No, it was not a waste. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, because some of the structure, the tiny ones, is like I struggle showing them because they are very deep in the. You can kind of get like an idea where to find them, but like they are way hidden in there. We don't even ask our medical students this because they get asked in the lecture, for example, like for the branches, from what nerve and all that, but not to show them because they are very deep. I doubt it if we will see them in the board. But I mean, for the purpose of this exam, so. But I still he's not showing you guys anything like in the anatomy.
No, he doesn't show us a thing.
Oh.
But thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. Like some of the things I wouldn't have put together myself, like the styloglossus. Once you told us, like, oh, it's just off the styloid process going to the tongue, I was like, oh, okay. But if we hadn't had this, even though I know what those two, like the prefix and suffix
Right.
separately, I would never put that together. So thank you for that.
Oh, okay, of course, yeah. Tomorrow, hopefully, we'll be able to find like a couple of models, but usually models are not that great, so but we'll try. We'll try. I'm gonna be there in the morning early to go dig and find like any model that before, because my lecture is at 7, so I'm gonna try to be there early before the lecture. So
So you got another lecture at 7, right? We're gonna see you at 9.
yeah,
Okay.
I have a lecture at 7, yeah. All right, I'll see you tomorrow then.
Okay.
Unless you have any questions
Okay,
or anything.
thank you again.
That the table that the room that has the table with the anatomized, do you think that